Shalom. Before we begin the lesson, all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakar Double honors to the apostles, elders, and teachers of Great Millstone for teaching me this 100% truth about our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai Mashiach, and the true reason why he's coming back, which is to save the elect remnant of the house of Israel from their enemies and those that hate them, and to take over the earth and universe, which was given to him by the mighty Yahweh himself, the Ancient of Days, wherein our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai Mashiach, will establish righteousness throughout the whole earth and universe forever under the kingdom of the heaven of the Israelites. Shalom, Akim and Akwa. We one day closer to the kingdom. We got more shameful spewing on the glory of Esau, Edom. And we got one of their cohorts reaping what they sow. That would be the mixture of Ishmaelites, Edomites, and Elamites living over in the UAE, which is supposed to be a Muslim country. In fact, it was a Muslim country created in 1971. So it's no people of national origin in that area right now, what they call the UAE, with the main tourist attraction being Dubai, because the UAE does not produce any oil. It's a man-made country that's a tourist attraction or a designation spot, residential spot for the rich, because they don't have to pay taxes and they get other benefits too. It's supposed to be the safest place in the world for billionaires and millionaires. Well, they have reaped what they sown. If we're going to see in this clip from C.J. Wellerman, the UAE is not innocent. Now, I know a lot of so-called African Americans have a great desire to visit Dubai because they know they idols. The so-called African American people in America that they idolize brag about that spot so much, from Floyd Mayweather to Fabulous. I even seen clips of women from Houston going over to Dubai, coming back mad. And you know, as we have all seen, several women on these platforms bragging about getting flown out to Dubai. Well, that's just coming to an end. Copyright disclaimer, let's get this out the way. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This is for news reporting, teaching, and educational purposes only. Fair use is in full effect. Before we play this clip about the corruption that's going on between the UAE, the Israelis, and Babylon the Great, aka America, let's get this. 2nd Ezra, 6th chapter, about the 28th verse. Yeah. I started 27. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption, which is what's been going on around the world, under the leadership of who? Esau, Edom. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. In the scriptures, not only is Asia, the Moabites, in trouble for being in bed with them Edomites, the Ishmaelites, they in trouble too. They one of our enemies. Let's get this real quick. It's lucky. You come back to Job. Psalms 83. I started 4. I started 2. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at 1. Shalaki. Psalms 83 and 1. Keep not thou silence, O most high power. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O most high power. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Who is the Lord's people? It's all throughout the scriptures. He's the most high power of Israel. The Israelites are his people. So-called modern-day African Americans, Native Americans, and Latinos, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. And we are not a nation. All we got is what? Black culture. We call ourselves what? African Americans. When we originated from where? Israel, which is modern-day Palestine. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And this dates back to the ancient times. Right? It's all throughout the Holy Scriptures. The tabernacles of Edom, so-called modern-day white man. And the Ishmaelites, so-called modern-day Arabians. Right? The Arabs, as we call them, up here in St. Louis. Of Moab, the Chinese, and the Hagarenes. That's a Hamite, African nation. Gabal, African. And Ammon, Japanese. The Japanese, so-called modern-day Japanese people. And Amalek, the so-called modern-day, you know who, the ones you can't speak about. What did the one guy call them? If you say something, you're going to be antiseptic. Septic. It rhymed with that. I call them the 48 fakers. You know who they are. The ones that's going around committing a genocide right now. That has wars on 7 fronts. Not 7, let's see. They got the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran. Yeah, and Yemen. So yeah, about 7. Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, which is Hamites. All right? Let's get this. Luke 12 and 2. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. Now, it's going to come out in this clip that the UAE was created by the British and the Ionists. Put another letter in front of that. Right? Along with the help from who? America. The whore that sitteth upon many waters. That's why the nations are mad. Right? Let's go. Because I did a lesson earlier. I don't know if it was earlier this year or in the latter part or in the fall. The UAE has their hand in these little proxy wars. They supporting the militants in Sudan. It's going to come out in this clip. They did things in Somalia too. And I told you they did something. They was with Saudi Arabia and America when they went against Yemen under President Obama. Right? Let's get Job at 4. Because secretly, as he going to state, the UAE, which claims to be a Muslim country, have did the most devastating things to the surrounding Muslim countries in that region. Job 4 and 8, even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. Now it used to be, it was becoming the #1 destination spot, the play spot of the billionaires, the millionaires, right? Lord taking all that shit away. Because them Iranians then bomb their ass to all their numbers dropping. So Dubai will never be the same again. Courtesy of the Lord. How do we know that? Look, I just read to you who our enemies were, right? Now let's go down to Deuteronomy 30 and 7. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Look up the history. The Arabian slave trade. Let's go back. Oh, let's get another one. Let's go to Psalms. Because All these corrupt nations and these corrupt dealings is coming to an end. That's why I read 2nd Esdras 6 and 28. And on the note of corruption, I don't know if I brought this out, but the Ukrainians just got caught trying to transport $45 million in U.S. cash, $35 million in Euro cash, and 9 kilograms of gold. The Budapest probes. It's a multi-million-dollar laundering scheme that's going on. Now remember, before this war started, the war between Ukraine and Russia started, Ukraine was voted the most corrupt government in the world. Let's go to Psalms, 7th chapter. Yahweh implored to defend the psalmist against the wicked. Now remember now, when you read most of these scriptures, it's talking about our people that's being wicked. But we know who the head nation that's on this earth that's wicked, which is Esau, Edom. But these other nations, they wicked too. Because they have drunk the what? The wine of these Edomites. I'm going to read this in the NLT too. Psalms 7 and 14. If you go up, you can read this whole chapter at your own leisure, right? Because if you get to verse 12, he's talking about us. Let's go to 11. The Most High Power judges the righteous, and the Most High Power is angry with the wicked every day. So that's all the other nations, including 2/3 of ours. Psalm 7 and 14. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and hath conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. Now they did all kind of corrupt, underhanded spy tactics, working with the Mossad and the CIA. And like old boy gonna say in this clip, they finna throw the UAE under the bus. Whenever they make a little deal to work out this little ceasefire, come to an agreement with them Iranians, you best believe that the countries that got bombed, Saudi Arabia, they losing money. They finna flip. Bahrain, the UAE, Kuwait, all them nations gonna get left to fend for themselves. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and hath conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. In this case, we talking about the UAE. Y'all try to destroy Yemen, the Yemenese people. You try to destroy other Muslims throughout the region, thinking with the front like as if you was a Muslim country, but you was in bed with them Israelis and them. I'm trying to see, which name could I use? The wicked Babylonians, the daughter of Babylon, through the spirit of the Egyptians. He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. And now you over there getting bombed. So much so that your economy finna crash. And that the number one tourist spot over in the Western Asia, so-called Middle East, it's finna be no more if this war continues. Let's get this in the NLT. Psalms 7 and 14. This for all the wicked nations. But like I said, in this case, the UAE. Because they was in bed and they drank the wine of who? Babylon the Great. Psalm 7 and 14, NLT. The wicked conceive evil. They are pregnant with trouble and give birth to lies. Now, they didn't fund it. What's the name of this? I'm trying to think of the name of the Sudan militant force that's going against the Sudanese government. The Rapid Support Force. The UAE funded them. They also did things to undermine the people of Somalia too. It's gonna come out in this podcast, in this clip that I'm gonna show from the C.J. Wellerman show. The wicked conceive evil. They are pregnant with trouble and give birth to lies. They dig a deep pit to trap others, then fall into it themselves. The trouble they make for others backfires on them. The violence they plan falls on their own heads. We'll read that again. The trouble they make for others backfires on them. The violence they plan falls on their own heads. Now, all this violence that you have sown throughout the earth, it's coming up on your own head. And one of y'all main contributors and associates was the UAE. And they finna feel the wrath of the Almighty Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. They feeling it right now. Let's get a couple more scripts and then play this clip. Let's go to Proverbs 22:8. He that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity, and the rod of his anger shall fail. That's for Esau and all those that's clicked up with him, that's cleaving to him. Let's read that in the NLT. Those who plant injustice will harvest disaster, and the reign of terror will come to an end. The reign of terror that them small hats, them 48 fakers, are unleashing over in Western Asia, which is called the Middle East, is coming to an end. And they number one proxy, the UAE, taking major hits, and they finna get through under the bus. Let's get one more script. We're going to read the disclaimer again and then get the clip, because the clip don't speak for itself. Most shameful spewing on the glory of all our enemies, mainly Esau, Edom. And in this case, Ishmael. Let's go to Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived, the Most High power is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Just like Job 4:8, right? For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. That's what them UAE people did, all them little Arabians over there. I remember seeing a podcast talk about the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. They say, guess how many other princes in his household? 30,000. They made all this shit up, y'all. They created all this. Bahrain was created. The country Bahrain was created in 1972, I think. I said that in a lesson earlier this year. Matter of fact, it was a couple weeks back. The UAE, 1971. They tried to build a destination spot for the rich and put U.S. military bases on it so there wasn't nobody fuck with it. And in return, what the UAE do? All the underhanded things that Babylon the Great and the unrecognized state of Israel wanted them to do. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the spirit shall of the spirit reap life everlasting. That's the elect of the house of Shalaki. That's the elect of the house of Israel. 1/3. Let's get this back before we play this clip. More corruption being found out. More truth coming to the light. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. This is for news reporting, teaching, and educational purposes only. Now let's check this out from the C.J. Wellerman Show. It ain't looking good because worldwide, as we've been telling y'all, the Lord is making Esau, Edom, despised amongst the men. Despised amongst men. And now we got more countries coming out against them 48 fakers. South Asia in particular. Poland. We already seen Spain. They burned the effigy of them. And they didn't went at them already. So we're going to see how many people y'all going to be able to go against. Because Ezekiel 38 and 39 is starting to take effect too. We one day close to the kingdom, Israel. Shalom.
In attacking US military and economic targets in the Arab Gulf, Iran has not only rewritten the rules of asymmetric warfare, but also it has reshaped and reordered the entire Middle East, to the detriment of both Israel and the United States. The Abraham Accords are now well and truly dead, which means Israel's Arab allies are falling like dominoes, starting with the United Arab Emirates, a quasi-Zionist colony established by Britain in 1971, but quietly controlled and armed by the United States ever since, earning itself the nickname of America's Little Sparta among US government officials. It's partly for this reason that no Muslim country has done more harm to more Muslims around the world than the UAE, And I say that as a human rights journalist who has covered the violence and mayhem it has sown in the Horn of Africa for years. The UAE fomented violence in Somalia, sponsored civil wars in Yemen and Libya, and fueled a bona fide genocide in Sudan, which we covered in a recent episode. It has also given its full-throated support to foreign governments guilty of persecuting indigenous Muslim populations, including the Hindu nationalist regime in occupied Kashmir and the Chinese government in occupied East Turkestan. It even funded a smear campaign against Muslims and mosques in Europe, because, well, there's just no other way to put it. The UAE is the enemy of Islam, period, point, paragraph. And this was before it threw the Palestinians to the wolves during the first Trump administration, when it normalized the state of Israel in exchange for lucrative Israeli trade deals and more American weapons. To keep the guns and butter flowing, the UAE has covertly supported every Zionist crusader war and lobbied Trump to invade Iran, while also working behind the scenes to sabotage peace talks in hope the United States will carry through with its threat to wipe out the Iranian civilization. Well, today, the UAE is finally getting its comeuppance. For war it helped start next door is now raining missiles on the Emirati population.
These attacks were unprecedented. We could not have imagined this scenario actually playing out.
Most airports and airlines in the region are affected.
Drone has hit a residential tower overnight in Dubai. It sparked a fire and residents were forced to evacuate the building.
This conflict has come to the doorstep of a territory that many perceived to be one of the world's top safe haven territories.
Dubai has been on the receiving end of 500 ballistic missiles, 15 cruise missiles and 2,000 drone attacks since February 28th. Many have been intercepted, but many is not all, leaving the country's mostly expatriate population to live under the fear of rocket fire for the first time in their lives.
Oh my God, it's bomb debris. Here. Oh my God, it's a bomb.
Oh my God! This regional war has become personal. Iran's attacks reaching the homes of some of Dubai's residents.
No joking, guys. We have just been hit by a drone. We have it coming. It stinks of oil in here. I didn't even finish my cup of tea.
Embassy and government advice to shelter in place for most means to stay at home. But that wasn't a safe option for some people today. The sense of terror has driven some families to hit the road to Oman in search of safety.
Hundreds have been killed or seriously injured since Iran began aiming its missile launches at the UAE. A toll that is expected to grow much higher and to the point that will make Dubai totally unlivable, according to Tehran University professor Mohammad Morando, who essentially operates as a de facto spokesperson for the Iranian government.
Iran will no doubt control the Strait of Hormuz, and it will fight for it, and it will succeed. And if the United States escalates, Nima, these Arab dictatorships in the Persian Gulf will probably cease to exist. If I was living there now, I would leave. Because if they start striking our critical infrastructure, they've already done so. But as we go forward, then Iran is going to destroy theirs.
Tens of thousands of migrants have already permanently fled the country as a greater number pack up their belongings and finalise plans to return to their countries of origin, constituting a devastating blow to a country in which 90% of its residents are foreigners. You see, Dubai, unlike the other Gulf Emirates, does not have vast oil resources to fall back on. Its financial losses will be beyond crippling if the war drags on and Dubai's reputation as a haven for tourism and Western business, banking and real estate investments continues to erode. Which is why, in a bid to limit the reputational damage to the country, the Emirati regime has cracked down on social media posts and videos depicting the attacks.
13 missiles and 27 drones were intercepted in the United Arab Emirates on Wednesday. Yet images like these are hard to come by. Under the UAE's strict cybercrime laws, anyone photographing or filming the incidents could be arrested. Just like the 60 people who, according to France television sources, are currently in police custody in Dubai. Among them are at least 3 French nationals accused of threatening public security by filming Iranian attacks on the territory.
Stories of British expats being jailed for posting on social media is how the Emirati dream dies, because Dubai was sold to Western audiences as a quasi-liberal European city that was protected from regional wars and bloodshed by the presence of major US military bases. US and Israeli security guarantees are how Dubai grew from a sleeping fishing village into a billionaire's playground, replete with more Lamborghinis and luxury brand stores per capita than any other place in the world. It was ranked as the #1 destination for millionaires just 2 weeks before Israel and the US started bombing Iran, with 10,000 millionaires moving to Dubai in 2025 alone, bringing with them an additional $63 billion in capital. Dubai's pitch was simple: zero capital gains, zero income tax, modern infrastructure, and most of all, stability. This was the pitch to every multinational, every hedge fund, every billionaire looking for a second passport and a tax-friendly base. Come here, you'll be safe, you'll be rich, nothing bad happens here. That promise is now broken, and once a promise like that is broken, you can simply not unbreak it, as explained by the manager of a major hedge fund in Hong Kong.
But what I can tell you is this. Right now, across Hong Kong and Singapore, private bankers and corporate service firms, just like Statris, are working day and night processing transfer requests from people who considered Dubai the safest place on earth until last February. Millionaires, entrepreneurs, expats, all of them doing something Dubai had never seen before, living. Not for vacation, not for a business trip, but for good, paying any price just to get out. What broke wasn't the skyline, it was the promise.
Last year, Dubai welcomed nearly 20 million visitors, but is on track to pull half that number in 2026, with Oxford University predicting the UAE will lose between $34 billion and $56 billion in visitor spending.
After a month of war, tourism in the United Arab Emirates has dropped sharply, and with it has come a growing concern about jobs. And Dubai is a city that eats out. It's one of the world's food capitals. But right now, even its busiest restaurants are feeling the impact of war.
For the Emirati regime, the broader economic picture is even more alarming. Its stock exchange has lost $120 billion in value, with the economy set to contract more than 5% in April alone, and at the same time, the housing market collapsed even further.
Now, Dubai's booming real estate market has taken a sharp hit amidst escalating tensions in West Asia. The DFM Real Estate Index has plunged nearly 20% in just 5 sessions, wiping out all the gains it had made so far this year. The fall comes as the ongoing conflict involving the US, Israel and Iran. It rattles investor sentiment across the region.
Aviation accounts for 18% of Dubai's economy. Its airport handled 95 million international passengers last year. But the war has already caused the cancellation of 27,000 flights, a number that continues to spike upwards by the day as the world's busiest international airport comes to a literal standstill.
The impact on air travel is where we've seen some of the worst of the economic impact here. There are real global repercussions when the world's busiest airport effectively comes to a standstill. Dozens of international airlines have suspended Gulf flights. Dubai International was struck by debris in the early days of the conflict and temporarily had to reduce capacity. Fuel costs have also surged, and war risk insurance premiums for some of these Gulf routes have also risen sharply. So the longer the conflict continues, the more structural damage it does to Dubai's positioning as the world's preferred transit hub.
Dubai was designed to be a living, breathing example of how Arab rulers who play ball with Israel and the United States get rewarded with peace, prosperity, and a skyline that makes Manhattan feel small and insecure. But today, the Emirati regime has learnt 2 hard lessons. That in the age of drone warfare, US military bases are not shields, they're magnets. And that you can never trust the United States or Israel, with both countries set to throw the Emiratis under the bus in a future grand bargain with Iran. But please, don't shed a tear for this British-cum-Zionist colonial outpost and bankrolled a warlord besieging, but also fund a bus in a drone warfare. US military bases are not shields, they're magnets. And that you can never trust the United States or Israel, with both countries set to throw the Emiratis under the bus in a future grand bargain with Iran. But please, don't shed a tear for this British-cum-Zionist colonial outpost, because it not only betrayed the Palestinians, but also funded a genocide in Sudan, violated 4 separate UN arms embargoes, laundered stolen conflict gold through Dubai, built a network of torture dungeons across Somalia, and bankrolled a warlord besieging Libya. Oh, and as we reported last year, the UAE also secretly funded R&R vacations for thousands of Israeli soldiers who committed genocide in Gaza. So, if Dubai is now a war zone, then this, in the immortal words of Malcolm X, is the Emirati regime's chickens coming home to roost. And as for Israel's chickens, you ask, well, they are currently in transit. We will make sure of it. That, of course, is based on the assumption